Thank you very much, Emily. And I also welcome everyone. We appreciate you taking the time to come. I know you're besieged with invitations to wonderful webinars talking about great products and solutions, so I'm always appreciative when you take the time to come to ours, and hopefully we'll make it worth your while. So we're going to talk about voicemail replacements today. It is a market we're a very strong player in, probably the strongest, and we've got some things to share with you, both from how we look at the market and what's going on in the market, and also a really nice customer story from somebody very similar to you that probably faced the same challenges you're facing, and we were able to earn their business, and we're going to talk to you in detail about what they did and how well it worked out for them. So just a little brief bit about us, and most of you probably have a little bit of an idea who we are. We're a unified communications software company, been around about 30 years now, focusing in this exact market space. That gives us the kind of longest time and grade of anybody out there, and I think our solutions show that. They're very, very complete. Voicemail replacement's only a small part of what we do, but it's certainly a strong focus for us. And we'll sort of talk about how we approach this market when we look at the various things we've done with this sample customer we're going to use. Having probably been the lone contender in most deals where we weren't a recognized household name, we tend to want to make sure customers are comfortable with the fact that we've been around a long time and been doing this business. Because we don't make anything that is forward-facing, that has our name on it on your desk or anything, we tend not to be that well known. But in terms of earning the business for enterprise customers, it is something we've gotten very good at. And this is just a cross-sample of some of our customers in North America. And you can see they run the gamut through general enterprise, higher ed, healthcare, and government. They also run the kind of from the smallest systems at 4 ports to the largest at over 400. And also, as I look at this list, what I'm really struck with is I know quite a few of these customers and the diversity of what they did, of how they deployed our solution, what their problems were, how their problems were a little different than the next customer's problems, and how the flexibility in our product was a key element in their purchase decision. So we're going to kind of talk about some of that flexibility beyond just the legacy voicemail replacement market. Likewise, it isn't just in the United States that we've done this business. We have a very healthy rest of the world business with offices scattered around. And some of these customers here are actually customers only in those countries, but also some of these are part of a more global deployment where some of these deployments started in Europe and moved into their branches in the U.S. and some the reverse. So we are in a very good position to handle anybody's solution from a small single-site location right up to a global enterprise. And the story's kind of the same with everyone. No matter how far you scatter your offices, you tend to be facing the same kind of issues. So while we are going to talk primarily about voicemail today, because that was the title, and we figure that's what your interest is, that's what got you here, we are going to talk about the concept of understanding that what you're buying today to replace your legacy voicemail hopefully has some legs on it. It's going to last 7 to 10 years, and during that time, you're going to want more than just voicemail. You're going to want to make sure that the solution you pick today is put in place in such a way that you can start growing. Certainly voicemail replacement we'll talk about today. The UC Mobile section of our product, we have a wide range of applications that extend this functionality out to mobile users on a variety of clients. And that's probably the piece that, as well as voicemail replacements, most of our customers are looking at right now. And beyond that, we have a UC business process. And the UC business process allows us to write custom solutions. So even beyond the core applications that we offer, we have customers who come to us with very specific communications needs. And this same platform you'd use to replace your voicemail can actually let us develop those kind of solutions as well. So kind of an overview is, yes, make sure as you replace your voicemail you get what you need to do that, but understand that you're putting into place a UC platform that can last for years and develop a lot more in the way of solutions than just the voicemail replacement. So we're going to do a couple of questions during this, and our first one here is, what motivates your decision right now for a voicemail replacement? And Emily, have those slides gone up? There we go.
Okay, so if you can just pick all that apply, it's not just one answer, and we can see if most people have voted. We'll just wait a few more minutes or a few more seconds, sorry. Okay, great.
All right.
So, Neil, the results we have are there's about 45% for price, about 60% interoperability, 35% for future-proofing. Minimal disruption is about 40%, and then reseller recommendation is 25%.
Yep, very, very similar to what I would expect in terms of this is not a simple decision being driven by one factor. All those factors are important. I always hesitate to even put cost on a slide like that because that's always a factor in everything anybody does, certainly within a business or enterprise. But in all those areas, I think we'll have some interesting information for you in today's presentation. So the customer we're gonna kind of share with you today is the University of Toronto. University of Toronto was one of the deals we worked on starting about 2 years ago and working through all the remainder of last year and the early part of this year. It was a very complex one, and we like that because there's a lot of facets that we can talk about what the problems they had were and how we solved them. If we look at University of Toronto, they're the largest higher ed facility in Canada, and they're multi-site, although they are all in Toronto. So they had definitely had the multi-site aspect, but they were lucky enough that some of the networking issues were a little easier for them. Fairly large customer. They have 11,000 faculty and staff members scattered throughout their 3 primary locations, and then about 72,000 students who come and go. And they had a number of challenges when they came to us, and this was a fairly complex process. They had a very good consultant involved, and they had an RFP process, and they did a lot of work up front in understanding what their problems were and how they wanted to approach it. And that worked well with us because they were able to literally say, here's our challenge, and then we could respond and say, here's our solution. So the first thing they talked about was they wanted to centralize their 3 campuses. They had 3 separate campuses, 3 separate phone systems. They had 3 separate Octel systems at the time. And while the Octel systems did their job, there was a higher cost at maintaining 3 separate systems and a lack of communications between the systems because of it. So the first thing we approached was centralizing their system. They did not want to centralize their telephony environment at this time, which is something we see fairly typically. People aren't quite ready to do that necessarily, but they did need to replace their legacy messaging systems and wanted to centralize them at the same time. So what we were able to do for them is take a CX system and deploy it parts at each of their location. That's one of the great things about our architecture. We certainly can put a system in and literally put it on one physical server and have all the functionality we offer. But the strength in these kind of environments is we also can take individual components and move them out to the far ends at these sites. So we were able to take a single CX system and put the bulk of it in their main location at St. George, but we were able to put active components out on their 2 remote sites. Now, there's a lot of ways to connect remote sites, and people use gateways and all sorts of things, but the best way, in their case, because they were also very much concerned with reliability and high availability, was to put an active call processing element out at the remote sites. And rather than just put one, once again for high availability, we took those 24 ports and spread them on 2 physical servers, and now what they had was a deployment that was highly available. In other words, no single component could fail and take them out of business. This multiple location consolidation is really a key part in what we do with most of our large enterprise customers. Most of our large enterprise customers are looking at some way to centralize. Very similar to University of Toronto, a lot of our prospective customers have already centralized their data infrastructures and seen a great simplification and a lowering of costs, ongoing maintenance costs, by having it centralized. And they want to do the same thing in their telephony world. And certainly in their call processing and messaging world, that is a high interest for almost all of them. And we're able to do that. We have a wide range of features. We can easily connect to multiple phone systems. We haven't yet had a customer that had too many phone systems or types of phone systems that we couldn't hook together. While it didn't come up in the University of Toronto, we can span multiple time zones. We have the software to do that offset. We can do different dialing plans. We have all the functionality we need to do a centralization. And we do it in a number of different ways. This is the way that's probably the most typical for a customer. But we can also put remote gateways out at the site, direct VoIP connections out at a site. There's probably as many different combinations of doing this as there are customers that we talk to. So centralization, key element for them, and we were able to address it in the most reliable way, in terms of we gave them a solution that not only centralized, but made them comfortable that the quality of their service out to their end users would not degrade. And the way we do that with the CX system is by splitting the software apart and putting it on multiple servers. We don't have to do that, but there's an advantage to doing that. So in this case, you're just looking at a simple diagram where we have 2 call servers, and those are the active elements that connect to the phone system. They take the calls, they play the audio, they record the messages. Everything real time happens on a call server software load. And so we can put 2 of those in. And we also can go out at a remote site and put 1 or 2 of those in. And now, even though that's all a single system, you can call in and leave a message on a call server at Site 1 and a few seconds later call in and retrieve that message from a call server at Site 2. It really is a single physical system, and it's maintained as one system. We now have the advantage where if one of the call servers fails, while there is a reduction in capacity, all the calls are redirected and that site continues to work. And that's an extremely powerful piece of a high availability story, is to allow you to have the possibility of a physical server failure. Not that it happens very often, but that's the whole idea of planning, is in case it does, what can you do? And in the case of a remote site, by putting active call elements out, which we did at University of Toronto, if the cloud connection fails, if nothing fails except the data connection out to that remote site, having an active call element out there means it continues to answer call, runs all the call processing applications, plays all the audio, greetings, names, records new messages. Now, it can't move the messages back to the centralized system with the data connection down, but it caches them, and it can move them back when it comes back up. So the difference between using a gateway and an active element is the system, the remote system, remains functional as you're going through and looking at operations during the failure of the network connection. So the survivability is an extremely important part for almost all of our customers with multiple sites. Now, we take it further than this. Everybody kind of has a different level of high availability they're looking at. We actually can deploy this system with not only an active centralized server, the system server, but with a passive server running in active passive mode. And what that means is if the system server fails, and that's the central message depository and control server, the backup system server takes over automatically. It takes a couple of seconds to switch over and doesn't interrupt calls in traffic or anything, and now everything keeps right on running. So this actually gives you the ability to have a fully functional system no matter what component fails. Once again, the failure of servers is fairly low occurrence, but there are people who figure they absolutely have to have a fully redundant system, and that's one of the options we offer. And to take it kind of to the final and full step, there are people who also say, I need geographic redundancy. I need the ability, if I lose my entire main site, I need the ability for everything else to continue working. And for that, we offer the ability to put a passive system server in a remote location. And it works just like the backup one. It's passive, it's updated real time. If you lose that main site, the administrator promotes that remote site system. It comes up, it finds any call server it can connect to, and everything keeps on going. And then you reverse that process once you brought the site back up. So anywhere from 1 to 3 system servers and anywhere up to 20 physical call servers scattered about, any way we need to do to match your environment. So disaster recovery, very important to University of Toronto as it is to most of our enterprise customers. The goal here, of course, what started all this, and it's probably, even your numbers say this, one of the driving factors, is you have a voicemail system, a call processing system, an old legacy system, might be Octel, might be an old Avaya system, an old Nortel system. There's a lot of them out there. They're probably doing the job fairly well. I mean, the voicemail market for 20 years grew and added features, and we had a pretty strong set of features in all of our competitors as this era kind of started rolling to a close. The problem is, these older systems, the manufacturers discontinued them. They didn't choose to do any kind of taking them forward process. So now you have a lot of systems that might perfectly fit your needs for the simple call processing and messaging you have, but that you really have to do some due diligence there and do something because you can't get maintenance on them anymore. So we have a lot of people that say, what I really want is to come in Monday morning with a brand new system and not know it. I want you to put a new system in. I want you to have it work like our old system. I want a minimum amount of disruption and training for my users. I really, as the first step at least, I simply want a like-for-like replacement. And that's a big driving factor in this legacy voicemail business. And it has been for years, and as a result, we've been adding software to the system for years just to address that. So we've been kind of the best-of-breed legacy solution for probably 15 years now, and we do a number of things to make this process easy. First of all, our licensing is very easy. While we provide a wide range of UC features, mobile native devices, speech rec interfaces, custom application development, the way we license the system allows you to only pay for what you need up front. And this works out very well for legacy voicemail, because legacy voicemail doesn't require licensing for users at all. Basically, you figure out how many ports you need, you replace the system, you can add as many users as you want. Now and then moving forward. We just think that's the easiest way to do it. Same with voice storage. We don't license storage. So moving over for just a simple call processing system is very painless, both financially, because of that licensing, and operationally, because we've taken the time to develop all of the alternate telephone user interfaces for the legacy systems. So we have the Octel Aria, the Serenade, or the older VMX version, the Avaya Intuity, the Nortel Meridian Mail, the Mitel NewPoint, which is the Centigram system, and the Active Voice systems. And these are extremely accurate user interfaces. Nobody makes 100% perfect emulation, but ours is by far the closest to that in the market. It isn't just a top level, it's top to bottom, all the messaging functions. A user can come in on their CX system on Monday morning, and they can send messages, delete messages, address messages to multiple users, do everything having to do with their messaging using the same exact keystrokes. Where it will be a little different is when they go in to set up their mailbox options, because once again, we have far more in the way of options than those older systems had, and we really couldn't emulate their sort of management interface. So that's different, but messaging is identical. And we have all the pieces we need to go into the old voicemail networks. So the step of migrating over from the older legacy system to our system, we made it as painless as possible. We have training tools that you can put online on your network with tutorials. We have user guides that match up. We have all those things you need to basically bring your users over with minimum disruption to your business. And that's probably one of the most important pieces of evaluating how you're going to do that piece, in terms of you're not getting great value for all these new applications necessarily. You're really looking at minimizing disruption. And we've got years of basically putting into the product what you need to do that. Now, that being said, like many of the legacy system users, the University of Toronto was using the Octel system for a lot of business process. There was a lot of caller experience going on, and they had to make sure that they could duplicate that. And we do that because our system's been on the market, for almost 30 years now. We've never taken features out of it. We're really the only player left that really can do all the legacy call processing and replace all those menus and make sure that from an outside caller point of view, nothing changes. And that's what we did for the University of Toronto. They ended up migrating over about 300 of their automated attendant menus. And originally all these were just DTMF, but they did some extra things to make some of them easier. And basically what the platform can do is everything that any legacy system does, plus a wide variety of newer ways of doing it using speech interface, even custom application programming. The current system at University of Toronto is taking about 450,000 calls a month right now, and you can probably talk to some of the people there if you need a reference, and they'll tell you that it went off without a hitch. Now, to be fair, without a hitch is a testimony to our dealer, who worked really hard to make it happen smoothly, and the University of Toronto, who really understood their environment and made sure that we were able to, everybody work together to give them that smooth transition. So the call processing piece was a big piece for them. And while very few people buy new systems to do more call processing, the ability to replace and mimic the existing call processing is very important. And then the last piece that they were looking at is kind of the one new thing they wanted to make sure they were set up to do and implement was some unified messaging. And of course, like so many higher ed institutions, their email environment was fairly complex. It wasn't just a simple single system. And over the years, because we've done so much in higher ed, we've worked really hard at making our system flexible So that in terms of unified messaging, we probably can walk into any customer out there and say no problem with what you have today. We are rated as the best-of-breed solution by all the analysts in terms of unified messaging. Been doing it the longest, have the most flexible system. We have everything out there in terms of whatever email infrastructure you have, we can connect to, including multiple email servers. We have a lot of people that have Exchange, particularly in higher ed, Exchange for their business unit, Gmail for their students, and now Microsoft Office 365 for some of their departments. That's not even a challenge for us. We can hook up in that environment. Every user can be connected to the right email system. So what we can do for unified messaging is simply ask you what you want, as opposed to so many of our competitors who say, here's what we support. We basically support everything out there. By far the most flexible system out there. And beyond just putting it in your email client on your desk, we have a full range of native mobile clients, web applications to get to it. We have voicemail to text transcription services. We have text to speech for reading your email over the telephone. We have all of the elements and the complete flexibility to deploy it the way you need it. And University of Toronto found that very helpful. No one could really match their environment quite as well as we could. The mobile client's an interesting piece. It's part of the UM infrastructure, it's part of the UC infrastructure, and it's kind of a whole new direction. And if you look at the native mobile clients, we have mobile clients that run on the iPhone and the Android, and one of the strongest things they do, I mean, they certainly do messaging. That's probably a given because of who we are. You can get to your voice messages and your fax messages from your mobile device. And that's great and very useful for people. But there's a whole world of call management now that as we extend it out to the mobile device, brings new ways of working out to employees that they find very, very interesting. Managing your incoming calls through the mobile device, through the data channel, where you can actually screen your calls and get a little pop-up that says, hey, you have a call from Bob Richardson. What do you want to do with this call? You want to take it? You want to move them to voicemail? You want to record a little message back to them that says, hey, I'm in a meeting, I'll get back to you as soon as I'm out of it. You know, if you're walking down the hall, do you want to take that call but move it to your desk phone so you can have the conversation more comfortably? All of that is available from the mobile clients. Very unique approach. If you talk to us later, we'd be happy to spend some time letting you know what's out there that's kind of new and interesting, particularly for people who spend their time in meetings. We now offer the ability for you to carry your mobile device in and monitor your calls like you manage your emails, kind of quietly sitting there without interrupting the meeting. So it's a very, very powerful productivity tool. And the product itself, beyond just a voicemail replacement, there's so much more there as we kind of go out and look at the world and what people are looking for. So when we talk about our ideal customer, the more complex the customer, the better from our point of view in terms of, because of our flexibility, because of our product mix, we really do extremely well with customers that have unique needs. Certainly multiple PBXs. We don't care how many types and different PBXs you have, we can give you a centralized system on them. People migrating from the older legacy TDM switches to voice over time, we're a great solution for that. You literally can take the system and put it in and connect it to your old TDM system, connect it to your voicemail system, and move users one at a time as they come across, and there's no impact to the users at all. So all of those things that are complex make us the logical choice to do. And the private cloud, the multiple sites, the consolidation, the new speech rec applications, the new mobile clients, any interest in all of that makes our story just all the stronger. So now we have another poll for you.
Okay, so we are actually curious of what best describes your company, whether it's a mixed PBX, the need to replace your legacy voicemail, requirements for the private cloud, unified messaging, and cost savings. You can go ahead and choose all that apply. And we'll just wait a few more seconds. Okay, looks like most people have voted. And again, Neil, it's 65% for the mixed PBX, about 45% for replacing legacy voicemail, 15% requirements for private cloud, 35% for unified messaging, and then about 30% for cost savings.
Excellent. They're all potential customers for us. So hopefully you're going to see enough in this webinar where you'll have an interest, and you'll either through the local dealer that referred you or contact us directly, and we'll give you that contact information. Hopefully with those kind of needs, you will go ahead and spend a little time talking to us further. If you look at our platform, we've sort of laid it out. As a core piece at the bottom, we have what's called our interoperability engine. This is the engine we've been developing since 1981. It's been a standards-based product since those days, running on industry-standard hardware and operating systems, which gave us, in the early days in particular, an incredible advantage in terms of getting to market with less expense, because we could use common components, and less time, because we didn't have to build our own network card or any of that. And that engine is isolated with an interoperability layer of software, which means doing things like adding 5 email systems to the product or integrations to 10 different PBX types is easier for us, because this core architecture from day one envisioned exactly this kind of market. On an application or solution side, we have our mobile group of applications, which, while not probably the absolute core of what we do, it's the piece more people are struggling with today. Between the bring your own device wars out there and the fact that you've spent all this money on your network and your phone system and your groupware, and you've created these incredibly productive employees at their desk, and when they step away from the desk, they flounder because they don't have the tools. They can't be as responsive. They can't be as productive. So our mobile focus is to extend those things that we do out. And we don't do this by selling you bolt-on applications and servers. This functionality is integral to the system. When we build a new feature, we sit down and say, how does it work at the desk? How does it work on a mobile client? How does it work on the web? It's core to us that everything can be deployed for a mobile worker. Right in the middle there, our UC voice practice. That's our core voicemail system, call processing system, fax, speech automated attendant. Those are kind of the core things that we've done for years, and still a key part to our business, and we branch off from that in a lot of our other solutions. And then the UC business process practice is kind of after we've talked to you a little, hopefully you'll loosen up and say, we have this other problem where, I need my salespeople in the field to be able to check on inventory quickly. And, they don't always have a web connection. Isn't there some way you can do that? So those solving unique business problems with custom software, key piece of what we can offer you. And all these will come out in a discussion with us or one of our dealers. Our interoperability is very strong. We have integrations to everything out there. I don't know of a phone system out there today that we can't integrate. And this is all the traditional integrations, all the new voice over IP integrations, integrations to Microsoft Link. All of that is a key part of what we do. We want to be able to walk out and talk to every customer out there without saying, oh, you're going to be limited. You have to upgrade your phone system to a new version of software or something like that. No, that's the infrastructure piece that we should just say, okay, our infrastructure works with yours. Now let's talk about the solutions that you need. So Call Express 8.2 is our current version of software. We're very aggressive about putting new features in. The market's certainly changing a lot for us right now, for everybody, with all the things that are going on. So the actual 8.2 core release came out last November, and it was the introduction of our mobility clients, which are extremely popular. And that caused us to do 8.2 software update number 1 in February, which added some new things to the mobility client, but the primary thrust for that was the new intelligent gateway for Link. We now have the ability to create your Link soft phone as a device on the system, just like any other device. So you can have find me, follow me rules that say, first ring my desk phone, then ring my Link client. Or the one I use, I have a mobility setting when I go to a hotel that I turn on that sends all my calls to my Link client because I'm sitting in the hotel room working online. But when I'm back at my desk, it doesn't because I use my phone. So that was kind of the thrust for Software Update 2, or Software Update 1. And then Software Update 2 was about virtualization and scalability. This centralization effort means we need to do more in the way of bigger, more reliable, etc. And so this version basically did things like let us have full virtualization for our entire system in VMware using their DirectPath I/O piece. It increased our scalability to 144 ports on a single server and 500 ports per system. The asterisk there on the 144 ports per single server is when you're using traditional interfaces. That goes down to 96 ports per server when you use the speech rec interface. We have some new UC Connect sample applications that we give away. That's our business process programming engine and custom application engine. So if you buy that engine, you get 2 or 3 really nice, usable applications, free sort of starter applications. We added some more voice prompts for our friends across the Pacific there. and we enhanced our security. We have a security reset. It's one of the things we added a few versions ago, where if your user locks themselves out of their mailbox, they don't have to bother the administrator. They can reset their security code anyway. So all that was in Update 2. We already have Update 3 on the board, and I don't never get involved with what's in those until they actually come out because it's so fluid. But my guess is before the end of the year or very early in the first quarter, you'll see another list of things we're adding. And we get this information from exactly this kind of event where we talk to you, you're interested, you engage us, we come out, you like all the stuff we have, but you have this list of other things, and maybe we realize, okay, that's something that we've heard enough now where we'll get that in the product too. We're a small enough company to be very flexible in terms of responding to customer needs. And that brings me to my absolute favorite slide every time. Let's see if we can get some questions from you.
All right, we do have some questions.
All right.
Just a few. And go ahead, if anyone else has questions, you can still ask questions through the question pane. Just go ahead and type that in. The first question we have is, do you support Dialogic Media Gateways at remote sites?
Yeah, we do, and there's some great opportunities to use those. We have a couple of large sites where they came to us early on and said the reason we want a media gateway as opposed to your call server is these are sites where we don't have any maintenance people. We don't have the ability to reset a server. We don't want to worry about patches. So for smaller remote sites like that, we definitely support those gateways, and we use them a lot. What we like to do is give the customer the choice between the gateway, which is less maintenance on their side, and the call server, which is more reliable in the case of data issues. So we would definitely have a discussion with any customer in terms of which one is more appropriate on a site-by-site basis.
Great. And then a follow-up question to that. What is the difference between the call servers you showed in the case study versus the Dialogic Media Gateway?
Well, the easiest way to think of it is what the gateway is a protocol converter. You hook it up to the PBX or key system out at that site, and it converts that older TDM technology into a SIP integration that can then move across the network. So the distance problem gets reduced. So, but as just a protocol converter, in the event that the network goes down, that box can't do anything. It can't answer calls. Basically, you go ring, no answer. Whereas if you have a call server there and the network goes down, it has intelligence. There's not that much difference cost-wise in deploying it, one way or the other. It's really about, if that's a site that maintaining communication services is very important, a call server is the natural choice. If it's a smaller site, maybe a site that you're not as worried about having, full-time always communications, and there's issues with not having people, to keep a server healthy, etc., then maybe the Dialogic Media Gateway would be the choice.
Okay, great. And next question. This person says they came in a little late. It appears that AVST can support mixed email services into the unified messaging application. So they're asking Gmail, Outlook, etc., can they all be dropped into the user's email?
Yeah, so what we do is we build connectors. Because of that architecture layer we had with that interoperability layer, we actually don't natively connect to anything within the core software. What we do in a user is we say this user is a unified messaging user, and here's the gateway appropriate for them. And now we get to go out and program a gateway that connects to Exchange, a gateway that connects to Gmail, a gateway that connects to Office 365, a gateway that connects to GroupWise, whatever you have. You can have as many of those gateways as you need, and then each user gets connected to the appropriate gateway. And we can do things like if you have 2 domains with 2 Exchange servers in different domains, that's not a problem for us. We can still connect. So we haven't yet found an email environment so complex that we couldn't do what the user wanted to do.
Okay, and then I have one more question. What can AVST do for me with my 3Com VCX 7000 system?
So I'm not sure on software levels. Some of the VCOM or the 3C systems can use kind of analog ports. We have worked with them in the past on a SIP integration, but the last time I checked, they did not have the capability for SIP to do integration. The types of things, the redirect commands, the message waiting commands, were not supported on their SIP trunks. That was maybe 9 months ago. So we are more than happy to re-engage with them. If we have a customer that wants to look at doing that, it usually takes a customer of theirs for them to talk to us and kind of get us entree. So we'd be happy to do that with a prospective customer.
Right, and we'll be happy to follow up with you as well. It looks like those are all the questions that we have. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on a future AVST webinar. And Neil, did you have any closing remarks?
Just kind of like the same as my opening remarks. I appreciate you people taking the time, because this is what we have blocked out for our hour today, all of us here at AVST, whereas you had to kind of pull yourself away from your regular job. So we know it's hard to do this. We hope we're giving you value. If we are, let us know, and if we're not, let us know. Let us know what other kind of things you'd want us to tell you, because our whole goal here is to present information to you that meets your needs. And we have a lot of experience talking to customers, and we hope we know what needs are. But feel free to let us know if there's something else you'd like to see.
And a great way to do that is go ahead and fill out our survey at the end of this webinar. It'll ask questions for your opinions on webinar topics and how we can improve. So thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next time.